Hello and welcome to episode 2 of RaiderIO's weekly No Leavers. I'm your host, Sean. Today I am joined by the man of the people, Dratnos. Thanks for being here.
Hello.
Sir, you are the busiest man in Warcraft between PTR testing, jet setting all over the planet, podcasting, videoing. Actually, 2 nights ago, Blue Notes came out and there wasn't an immediate video by you. I didn't know what to do. I was a shambles. What is this like your most excited moment of the year when PTR is happening like this?
Yeah, I mean, I think the race itself is my favorite time of year, but the PTR is definitely nice. You know, you sort of start having the future on the horizon, right? You know it's coming. You know we're about to get back into the content after a couple months of, I'm not saying I hate Dastardly Duos or anything, but it's a little bit less exciting than the new raid.
Right. Yeah, poor Dastardly Duos. Who can? Yeah. It was a content. The raid coming up. Have you had a chance? I know you've been, as we said, you've been busy. Have you had a chance to do much raid testing?
Not really. No, this is like the first tier in a long time that I missed raid testing. Both times I was out of town for like other stuff I'd already planned before the testing got announced. So this time around, I'm watching the videos rather than like making them for the raid testing.
Oh, nice. So that was my question. Are you going to go in blind? But obviously not. I mean, you guys are ready. You're like top 10 in the world or something, aren't you? At Poptart
16th,
Corndog?
I think we were last year. So
that's pretty good.
Yeah, hoping to stay around there.
Nice. I have to ask. It's a question I think I've asked before, but I have to ask again. Where does the name Poptart Corndog come from?
It was just we used to be called Parse Culture back in the day, and then for a while we were Poetry Club, and then somebody suggested Poptart Corndog, and that was really funny, and we liked it, so we kept that, and then we would probably have changed it some more. Except now there's like kind of enough people that know us that it would be weird. Like changing it would be annoying. We've got some name recognition built up, so yeah. Otherwise we would just keep cycling through new guild names.
That could be your thing.
It could still happen. Yeah, that bit is. It's not. I'm not ruling out the possibility.
I love it. Okay, so you've been watching the videos. You're looking through the guide, seeing the polls after the fact. Are there any fights that stand out to you as potentially being really fun?
That second to last boss looks crazy. The Nexus King.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible. The whole raid though looks visually stunning. It is weird having not played it myself, but like to not have done the testing myself. But we're gonna have all the heroic and or all of that first week of spamming a bunch of heroic and stuff to kind of get an idea of what it's about. The last boss also, just from the dungeon journal, looks sick. So
yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. What do you think? I know, so the Dratnos pull counts is big content. We like to see that. So I'm not going to ask for your full, pull count guesses, but where do you think, if we're going to have a wall, where do you think it's going to be?
Maybe that fourth boss, the
is that
engineer guy making that where like he dies and charges up the last boss. He's like trying to charge up the last boss. Yeah. I forget all the names.
Is that Forge Master?
That sounds right.
Yeah, Forge Master Araz, where you have to kill the collectors. Is that the one? He's got the three pylons.
I feel like the last or the second to last boss is definitely going to be really hard. But
yeah,
it's hard to call that like a wall, right? Because it's the second to last boss. I think when people think about walls, they mean somewhere in the middle of the raid that's like harder than you'd expect.
Exactly. They're looking for that Painsmith, that Halandris, that boss that just comes out of nowhere and everybody's like, oh, I guess
Spunk Junker.
Yeah, I guess this is where we live now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. That, speaking of Nexus King, because that fight, like you mentioned, it looks bonkers. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Going into the Racer World first as a caster, but also as somebody whose guild is like, you guys are fairly close to seeing the bosses in the race state. Are you hoping that Nexus King is tuned specifically for the race and then dialed back post World First Kill of Dimensius? Or would you rather them see it be accessible from the beginning?
I always enjoy doing the really hard mode versions of bosses like that. That is something I do like. But the problem is sometimes they leave them in that state for too long. So it would probably be better for more people if they didn't have it be too crazy, or if they nerfed it in the kind of way where, like, there are some bosses where when they nerf it, it's still really fiddly and difficult in maybe kind of the wrong ways. So I don't know. I mean, from the testing, that boss seems like one where it might be one of those bosses that's like hard but fair, and it doesn't actually suck for everybody else, because there are definitely some bosses like, Silken Courts, where you kind of just like learn the dance, and I don't think that's especially fun to do. But some of the bosses like Gallywix and stuff, I think were the kind of difficulty was really fun for a lot of the people who got there later. So yeah, I don't know. I guess my personal bias is always I like the brutally hard, like week 2 Sprocketmonger Lock and Stock was something that was incredibly fun, and then that boss got nerfed into the ground over the next couple of weeks, and like I understand why they did that, but I really liked the experience of fighting and killing it that second week. Same with like Tindral Sage Swift. The 3-second seeds is something that is not remotely reasonable to ask people to do, but it's still fun to try.
Yeah,
it's fun to do. So yeah, I don't know. I guess hopefully they make the kind of difficulty such that when they do nerf it, it doesn't lose the identity of the fight because it was just a good kind of difficulty already. But if not, then hopefully they do nerf it quickly.
I do think I think there's space in Warcraft for both to exist, right? Like we can have 2 weeks of this is only going to be done by a handful.
Well, like it really matters where it is in the raid, because if you have something like Brood Twister Ovanax, where it's the first hard boss after 4 kind of stomps, or even Styx Sprocketmonger, even kind of Rick Reverb week 1, those bosses, you don't have like medium difficulty bosses in front of them that more casual, mid to late tier cutting edge guilds can be fighting. So they just run into Brood Twister, right? There were a lot of guilds that were just fighting Brood Twister pre-nerf that had no hope of ever killing it, and that's pretty bad. When we talk about like Nexus King, Nexus King is the second to last boss in the raid. It's probably safe to have it be really hard for a month, because the guilds that have no hope of killing it are not going to be fighting it yet, so it's a little bit safer.
That makes sense. That's exciting stuff. I have one more raid question before we dive into some more Dratnos specific questions, and that is the optional boss, Soul Hunters. Now, I don't think this is actually optional. I mean, it says optional, but it drops so much loot that everybody needs. I'm not going to ask your thoughts on whether it's optional or not. I'm going to ask your thoughts on the prediction that it is going to unlock an extra Demon Hunter spec. How likely do you think, as a man who is playing a Demon Hunter right now, how likely do you think that is?
I do think it's fairly likely, because like, I don't know. I mean, the game it's sort of awkward that Demon Hunter is this class with only 2 specs. That would fix that. Demon Hunter, it kind of has 2, I don't want to say bad, but I think less inspired hero talents as well. So, those could just be placeholders waiting for the new spec that kind of forces them to rearrange the whole pyramid of hero talents for it. Plus, it seems like it would be such a crazy bait and switch to create a fight about 3 Demon Hunters, a Havoc DH, a Vengeance DH, and like a Void DH, and then just not actually make the Void DH spec. I feel like Demon Hunters would be mad, which, Blizzard, Demon Hunter's one of those specs that they usually don't like making mad. It's not like Shamans or Rogues or whatever, where they don't care if everybody's mad.
Right, they don't mind upsetting them.
Yeah.
And the Demon Hunters have already sacrificed so much.
That's true.
It wouldn't be right to ask for them to sacrifice more. So I would like, there is a rumor, and I'm going to admit I started the rumor, that it is a support style spec that will debuff enemies with sigils and debuff the enemies with sigils as opposed to buffing your friends. Do you have a prediction, or would you like to give credence to that rumor that I started entirely on my own?
Yeah, it'd be interesting. I mean, the support specs, I don't think Blizzard has found a harmonious equilibrium for the support specs to land at, right? Like, you look what happened with Og, and Og was like super OP in Raid for a while, and then it was pretty good in Raid, but super OP in M+ for like 3 seasons. But only OP in the really top end groups, right? It was kind of fine in weekly keys or anything like that. And then they eventually have nerfed it to the point where it just kind of sucks, right? And I don't know. I feel like if I was Blizzard, having seen that saga of having so much difficulty tuning augmentation and not being happy with kind of any of the places that it's landed, I would be hesitant to make another support spec until we found something we were happy with Og. But yeah, maybe. I mean, the other option would just be like another melee DPS, right? Like kind of a Void themed, kind of half subtlety rogue, half Demon Hunter things. If you read the dungeon journal, that is sort of what the abilities point to. It's got kind of like a shadow step thing instead of maybe fell rush. So I don't know. I guess I think it's probably a little bit more likely it'll be that than a support spec. But
Okay. So the rumor,
I think it's a good
put pin in
rumor.
it.
Whoever started it, you know, they were cooking.
I love it. I agree. They were cooking. So for anybody who's watching and doesn't know what Weekly No Leavers is, it's a show on RaiderIO where we run a key with some of your favorite people from the Warcraft space. We talk some news. We talk about them. And right now we happen to be in a 12 Dark Flame Cleft, which, I mean, if you're looking at a weekly key, 12s are it. We have seen a lot of keys this season getting in those upper numbers. We're almost back to like pre-squish numbers. Do you have any predictions on what the highest level key we might see when Season 2 ends?
It's always hard to say because the numbers change sort of based on how much Blizzard decides they want to update the coefficient or whatever each time. Mm-hmm. But I would guess maybe, I don't know, what was MDI getting to this time? It was 20 somethings, right?
20, like we had 22s. We had 22 mother
okay,
load, yeah.
Maybe 26 next season because it usually does still go up.
Okay.
Compared to the previous season. So yeah, 26 maybe.
That's why we're going to clip. You need to know we're going to clip this and check back.
It's all made up, right? Like it all depends on what Blizzard decides to do with the coefficient and everything, which is on PTR right now. We can maybe find out, but I haven't looked into it enough.
No, that's exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing some 26s next season. I hope you're right. So you have sort of become known as the de facto, I mean, I introduced you this way, as the man of the people, as the voice of the people.
That's right.
How does that come up? Like, was that a conscious decision by you when you started content creation? You were like, I want to make sure I'm speaking for everyone, or did that just sort of develop naturally?
I mean, I always try and think about, like, I sort of recognize that I play the game in a pretty, in the way that a pretty small set of people do, right? Like, really hardcore raid, you know, 5 nights a week or whatever, try and get top 20. Those sorts of things there's a lot more people who play WoW than people who do that. So I guess anytime I have a take, I always try and temper it through the perspective of like, okay, how's this going to affect, you know, other types of players, people that aren't me? Am I advocating for something because I think it would be good for most people? For me specifically, is it a change where I think it wouldn't affect most people, but would be good for me specifically? And, you know, I think it's fine. You shouldn't expect people to not advocate in their own best interest, right? Like, that always makes sense. But I do try and put the spoiler or the disclaimer of like, okay, for me personally, I'd like it like this, but for everybody else, it's probably better if it's like this, or it probably doesn't matter too much, those kind of things. So I think that was part of it. And then, you know, I kind of leaned into it a little bit because obviously it's nice to have everybody. It's a nice meme or whatever to have going around, even though it's obviously mostly a joke. Because I do have my share of takes that are more, you know, anti the people or whatever than like I've lost some man of the people cred because I've been not critical, but I don't think that resilient keys are pure upside, which has gotten me some hate. Some people not thinking I'm a man of the people on that one. Although I do think they're mostly upside. I think sometimes people just hear me voicing some concerns about them and assume that I think they're bad because.
Yeah, if you're not 100% for, you're against, right? That's how that works.
Right. Well, and that's sort of how the internet works these days, right? Is like if you're pointing out something bad about something, it usually means that you're against it and you're trying to, you know, make the best possible argument against it. But that's not like I would point out things that I don't like about resilient keys or the ecosystem they've created because I want the system to improve, right? Like I want them to make resilient keys even better, right? Like I look at resilient keys and I'm like, okay, there's a lot of upsides to this. First of all, it seems strange to me that those are only for 12 plus keys. Like it seems like resilient keys would be super sick for people doing keys lower than 12, but they're sequestered just to the high keys, right? And like that, to me, is something that would be worth thinking about again. Mm-hmm. And then there are some problems as well that I think are caused, maybe not caused by, but like revealed by resilient keys. Like you look in the LFG and you see all the people putting up their keys for tips and stuff, and I think that's pretty icky. And but you don't have to get rid of resilient keys to, even though resilient keys are the reason that a lot of those groups are up now, right? Like they wouldn't exist without resilient keys. You could just ban and then enforce a ban on people putting those keys in the group finder, and that would fix that side of the problem.
Yep. That's a good point. That's a good point. So why is it you hate resilient keys?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the main thing that should determine how high your M+ score is how much time you have to play WoW. So, if you have a job or a family or something like that, I just don't think you should be able to push keys, and resilient keys let you do that. So that's why I hate it.
Perfect. I love it. All right, so you're man of the people now, but you didn't start as man of the people. What was that initial motivation for you to not just start a YouTube channel, but to keep going, especially through like the lean years when it wasn't, everything Dratnos touches turns to gold?
Yeah. So I mean, I first started my YouTube channel back in like high school doing Minecraft Let's Plays and stuff like that. Then I went to college, and then after that, I sort of started dabbling my toe back into content creation. And that actually, it worked out pretty quickly. There wasn't really actually RaiderIO was a lot of the reason as well that it, so like back in BFA, at the start of BFA, I made some routes. I didn't even really make the routes. I just kind of posted my group's routes and made the MDTs look a little bit prettier, which at the time MDT didn't have all the functionality that it has right now. So I was just manually drawing different colored circles around different poles, and like trying to make them a little bit more digestible like that. And then Ja from RaiderIO, your boss, I believe, still everybody at RaiderIO's boss, got in touch with me about putting them on the site as the weekly route, and that was sort of the start of, like, that was one of the first things that got me in front of more people than, otherwise I would have been. So, yeah, and then from there, moving into casting worked out really well, getting some various podcasts going, all sort of worked out pretty, I don't know, not like instantly, but pretty quickly usually.
I dig it. And
make sure to not hit you with this frontal.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. That was close. I was in the middle of a demolish, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
man.
I saw. Get over here where it's a little
good
bit
adjustment.
less,
nice comms there. Nice comms. I'll get over there.
Yeah, so doing a key while doing a podcast thing is actually, I will admit, I've done this a couple times. Dorky does this all the time whenever we're recording the potty C. He's always, not always, but he has been known to be in a keystone mid-recording.
Yeah, it does take a lot more focus, and I don't normally DPS. I'm a tank by nature, so it's like, I'm like, okay, ask the questions, listen to the answers, don't die. Oh, speaking of don't die!
Yeah, little incident there, fell off the edge.
Oh no!
Okay, B-Res has landed, Taunt has landed. Okay, we're just fine. We did it even during the stun as well.
Yeah, nailed it. That was perfect. That was planned. This is actually a strat.
Yeah. Dude, I can't tell you how many times I've actually fallen off on this boss on different characters.
Does the hunt pull you off the edge here like it does in Mechagon?
No, I just like double jumped and glided and fell off.
Nice. I love it.
It's whenever the boss spawns, I get knocked back off the platform. That's happened to me a couple times. Not so much. This is the only time it's happened in the past few months that I've fallen off, but
we have
yeah, these
all
things
the stones
happen.
Covered.
Yeah, looks good.
This is going sideways fast. So I want to talk about the race to world first. The race is coming up as we don't know. We suspect you'll be casting the race, unless you want to break some news and maybe an NDA on this show.
I have no news to break ever. I don't know. I have no idea what's happening.
Okay, so if
there's a race,
let's say past races. We use past races as an example. How do you prepare for a race to world first or for the MDI? Like for your casting, but also like what do you do for like a meal prep in that situation? Because you're going to be potentially away from home for a long time.
Yeah, typically the race events have really good food, or at least a lot of food available for you. So you don't have to bring your own food or anything like that. You just get the chef prepared meals. It depends. It just depended a little bit. I've been to a lot of different race venues over the years with different setups for that. So. But yeah, no meal prep involved on my end. For prepping for like casting for both Race to World First and MDI, I don't do a whole lot besides just do the PTR testing, or this time around watch the PTR testing. And then, for MDI, I'll try and make sure that I've done all the keys at a decently high level a couple times. So I try and, do some tanking, some DPSing, some healing, but nothing nothing more... No specific. I know there are people who do a lot more like spreadsheeting and prep and stuff like that, but that doesn't really help me usually. Never really has.
Okay. I like that. So it's a lot of that is it's natural, right? You're not like you're not like preparing statements like, okay, if they go into the mecha gun to do this, I'm going to say this thing. You're like
yeah,
all
like
off the top.
I have, I'll have those talking points that I sort of kind of vaguely think about, like, oh, this would be a good thing to mention, or when I'm doing the key, where it's like, oh, this is counterintuitive, oh, this is an interesting spot here, but I don't like list them out or write them down or anything. I just sort of do it by intuition.
Okay, cool. I like it. So that's the end of the key. We blew this key up.
Speed run.
I'm going to be in so much trouble for running a 12 again this week. Before we go, I want to ask you one last question. If you had to like pick one memory out of your Warcraft and content creation journey that you're like, this is the thing I would tell my grandkids and be proud about. Like, what is that fond memory for you?
It's probably the first race I ever casted was the Nyalotha one. And that was the first North American race win in like 10 years. So being there for that, I was casting while it was happening, and then like hearing the sort of the building shake as everybody was celebrating. That definitely is the main one, the core, the biggest memory for me.
I love that. I dig it. Dratnos, once again, thank you so much for being here. Every time I get to talk to you, it's an absolute treat. Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, youtube.com/Dratnos, twitch.tv/Dratnos, which I haven't streamed in like a year, but maybe I will again soon. The Pod EC podcast, Race to World First events of various kinds, MDIs, those sorts of places. Twitter, X, the Everything app.
Yeah. And if you're a business looking to contract Dratnos for some work, you can reach him at dratnos@gmail.com.
That's right. Yeah, thank you very much. It's been a blast.
Yeah,
thanks for helping me get my weekly done.
Yeah, you get your weekly done. It's a weekly no leaver. We got it all checked off. And to the listeners, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. You can find this show everywhere you listen to podcasts. It's also on YouTube. We're going to be live streaming all of our recordings going forward here on Twitch. And if you want to race against our 12 rookery, you can find this run on the Mythic Replay system at RaiderIO and toss it into your own RaiderIO add-on in-game and see if you can beat our 1846. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.